It's time for another round of the Smash Our Stash collaboration. Hey, it's Beth. Welcome. This month's Smash Our Stash collaboration, the prompt was paints, pastes, powders, glitter, things of that nature. Now, is usually the premise of Smash Our Stash is to smash your stash, like to use things up. These types of things aren't things that you would really use up unless you were almost at the bottom of them anyway. But this is one of those things that I think a lot of us, I especially, forget about using, especially in paper crafting. So there's a wide variety of things that you could be using for this: glitter glues, glitter powders, embossing powders, flocking powder, paint of any kind, pastes. So like whether it's like a gesso or a multimedia type paste, things like that. There's just a wide variety. So hopefully if you are playing along, you can find something that fits. I actually used a wide variety of things and did a couple different types of projects. So I did, if you follow me for any length of time, I try to use this for scrapbooking because it's a good motivator to work on the pages that I need to get done for whatever year it is I'm working on. I am currently working on 2020. So I did have a couple scrapbook pages where I used a chalk paste stencil. So if you've never used a chalk paste stencil, I've never heard of them, it's a stencil, but the open parts here, it's like a mesh. So almost like if a screen print screen, but on a smaller scale. So it's got like a mesh design in it and then a sticky back, and you can put it on, and then you don't use paint. You can, but they make it's like a little bit thicker paint. They call it chalk paste. That works better with these types of stencils. You can get these various places. I've gotten some from Amazon, some from Magnolia Design. I think there's a couple other places, but I can't remember off the top of my, Prima Redesign has some, I believe. So anyway, I have used them before, but I have never used them on a scrapbook page. So I decided to use them as titles. So on this one, just says Live Simply. I put it on, and then I used this Wild Plum chalk paste. And then this is just kind of like a little rubber squeegee. And I just applied it over the stencil and then removed the stencil, cleaned it, and then let everything dry really good, and then built my page around that. So these were some sunsets or sunrises in 2020 that were just amazing. And so I don't have a lot of embellishments or other color on the page, really, because the photos I didn't want to take away from that. So I did my title in the purple just because it did kind of fit with the purple in some of the photos. And then I did add a few extra embellishments like the sun. I added this See the Good to kind of finish off my title. And then Happiness and Beautiful, just because the sunrises like this just truly do make me happy. And no matter what I'm doing, I have to just stop and appreciate. So my next layout, I used two more stencils. One that says Shine Like a Sunflower. I didn't use the sunflower part. I just used the words. And then I used this little sunflower border. So again, I just put my stencil on. I did this one in a couple different steps. I put my stencil on. I kind of had this green page. I didn't have it glued down, but I used it to help guide the placement of my stencil. So I did it the first time and just did Shine Like a, and then I let that dry for a day, and I came back the next day and I added sunflower next to it because you can see here they're stacked, and I wanted it like to be a long title. And I used this color, which is Harvest Pumpkin. So it's like it's not a true yellow, it's more of a goldish maize kind of color. Kind of does have an orange to it, I guess. That's the pumpkin. And then I did this one again, kind of put my, actually I think I did sunflower and these over here at the same time. So again, I lined up I brought my cardstock panel in here with the photos on it, just to give me an idea of where I wanted to line this up. Then it added the paste, let it dry for, I think, another day or mostly a day, and then came in and added my photo panel down, kind of lined it up so it overlapped those flowers just a bit. And then I did bring in a few other sunflower embellishments. This is just a cardstock one I'd made out of scraps a while back. And then I have this little jar. And then this is a layered kind of sunflower that I made from some fabric flowers. So 2020 was a good year for my sunflowers. So again, I don't have a ton of embellishments, but I really wanted the sunflowers to shine. And you can't tell in this picture, but this was a giant sunflower stalk that just produced sunflowers for days, which I love. Oop, these are pages that I have not finished yet. So next, I switched to embossing powder. And I have this layout here, which in 2020, for the girls' dance recital, the studio closed down. They still did classes. They did classes via Zoom, so online. And then they ended up, because the recital was in May, they ended up just doing recital the same way as well. So here's like Ellie doing her class, her just normal dance class. And then for the recital, we just set up the laptop, gave her a mark, gave the girls a mark to stand in the living room, and then they danced and they could see their class dancing at the same time. Very strange, but it worked. You know, everything that year was a little bit different. So for my title, I have Zoom Recital. So what I did is I had these chipboard black letters. I didn't have a ton of like letters left, and I actually did this one first, which says virtual. So I had to kind of Frankenstein some letters to spell out virtual. And then I did the same thing with the Zoom. I punched them out, dipped them upside down in my embossing ink, and then dip them in this detail silver opaque embossing powder, and then used my heat gun, and it created like this kind of metallic look. So something different. This isn't something I ever think to do, so this was a good exercise for me. So I had created virtual, and I knew I couldn't do that again because I was really out of letters, but I was looking at them just to see what other words I could create and realized I could create Zoom, which that's how they did the recital, was via Zoom. So that worked out for the second one. So this is just my other daughter's layout. Again, you can see how everybody was on Zoom, and that's how they all got to see each other dance. And then this is the first time ever that I think our dogs got to be part of the dance recital. So that was something different. Again, used the embossing powders on some chipboard letters. Did finish off a sticker sheet. Woohoo. And then on this one, I played with something I haven't played with in I don't know how long, flocking powder. So flocking powder is different from embossing powder in that you don't need to heat it. It sticks and it gives you a fuzzy texture. And I'm sure you can't see that in the video. I don't know how that comes across in the video, but it's like a fuzzy texture. So in this case, I took some scrap cardstock, put some wide double-sided tape on top of it, ran it through my die cut machine and cut out the letters, BOY. And then once those letters were cut out, I pulled them out of I didn't have any tape on the back side. I just had it on the top. So I punched out my letters, peeled off the tape, and then it kind of covered them with the flocking powder, and then just pressed really good and shook off any excess. So it just kind of gives a little furry, kind of a fun texture. And then I just used regular letters for the rest of my title down here. And then it's like a thin pattern paper backed on some not super heavy cardstock, so it kind of makes it a little more sturdy all around. and then just added some balloons that I die cut from scraps. So far I've used chalk paste, embossing powder, and flocking powder. So the chalk paste, to me, it's kind of a combination. I consider it more paint than paste. And then just when I had the flocking powder out, I had room left on my black cardstock with the double-sided tape, so I also die cut a bat and then added the flocking powder to the bat. So fun little Halloween embellishment. So then the next thing I decided to do was use the stencils on some blocks. My husband and I have a business, and one of the things that we do is make reversible holiday decor. So it has decor on both sides. Like usually it's consecutive holidays or seasons. So then after the first holiday or season, you turn it around and you're ready to decorate for the next one. So like in this case, I did a popsicle. I have just a wood block that had been cut down, sanded, and stained. I added some white. I used Mod Podge to add white scrapbook paper, kind of wood grain paper to the front. And then I had my stencil on, and then just used, this is Old Glory Red, but it kind of has like an orangish pinkish flare to it. And then I just used sand by Redesign for my popsicle stick. So this is like a summer side, and then you turn it over and you have the 4th of July, which I used this stencil. And then this time I used Old Glory Blue, which I probably should have gone with Old Glory Red, but instead I used Mulberry. And then again on the white wood grain. And then this one's fun. This stencil I had used it a lot, and so it was very stretched out and it did not stencil well, so I have thrown that one away. But again, I used the Mulberry and the Old Glory Blue on it, but I'm going to have to cover it. Like this one will be for me. I'll just cover it and redo something on this side. And then Hello Summer, which is a little fun watermelon. I used this stencil, and then I used the green, magnolia green, and then the Old Glory Red, and then the sand again for the watermelon and the straw and Hello Summer. And this one is just single-sided. I had a scrap of this kind of beehive or honeycomb paper, and I had a set of bee stencils, and so I just used a stencil. And again, this one I went ahead and threw away because I have used it so many times. It was starting to like stretch out a little bit from being put on and off so many times. You can reuse them quite a bit, but then they eventually either lose their sticky or stretch out so that they just don't lay well anymore. And then on this one, I used Iron Gate from Redesign chalk, and it is just single-sided. So a couple different projects. Played with paints, embossing powders. So I'm excited. Some of those are things that I never do with flocking powder. If you care to know where any of the stencils or the paste came from, let me know and I can give you a link. Like I said, the stencils and the paste, depending, either came from Magnolia Design Co. or Amazon. So depending on what you're looking for, I can give you the links to those. But hope you guys enjoyed. This is a collab. I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning. There's a playlist linked in the description box below, so you can go and check out what the other participants are playing with this month. It's always fun to see their takes. I thank you all so very much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.